Welcome back to The Heat. While laws and ideologies have started to change towards gay rights in some parts of the world, the same cannot be said in places like Uganda and Nigeria. Joining us now is Bisi Alimi, a Nigerian gay rights activist and the first Nigerian to come out publicly as gay on Nigerian television. Bisi, thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
You initially revealed that you were gay on a popular television program in Nigeria. What was the response when you did that?
Well, that's actually 10 years now, this month, that that incident happened. And the reaction has not changed from what it was then. It was quite hostile. It was very aggressive. There were a series of attacks that I had to experience and I had to put up with. I was constantly attacked, I was bullied, I was assaulted. And it was a very depressing moment in my life, and unfortunately, the situation is still the same for many LGBT people living in Nigeria and some parts of the continent of Africa. And even now that I live in the UK, I still get constantly hate mail and people still threatening to attack me, and so nothing has really changed that much.
Right, so at what point did you decide that the situation in Nigeria was becoming intolerable and that you had to leave, and you left, and as you say, you now live in the United Kingdom?
I think it was in April of 2007, actually, when my house was broken into, and I was almost killed. I had to put up with over 2 hours of torture, and when they left, it was the 9th of April, and I remembered that reporting to the police did not really help my situation. I was later accused of promoting homosexuality, and by the 11th of April, I was out of Nigeria finally.
Now, what kind of penalties do gay people face in Nigeria?
Well, it depends. Pre-2014, pre-January 7th, 2014, it was, you know, the usual penal code law that we have, and it was more like 10 years imprisonment. This law was not really applied because the process is quite difficult. So they have to be caught in the act. You have to have evidence, which includes photographs, and then the question is, how did you know? How did you get involved in the process? How were you able to take photographs? But the new law that we now have, which was signed into law by the president on the 7th of January 2014, actually make it even easier to accuse somebody of being gay. So you go to jail for 14 years if you are known or perceived homosexuals. So somebody like me going back to Nigeria automatically means that I'll go to jail for 14 years because I am known. But you can also go to jail for 14 years if you are perceived to be homosexual. What that means, many people don't know. But also, it goes beyond, you know, the LGBT community. There are laws that are now in place that criminalize aiding and abetting or not reporting somebody that you know is homosexual, or providing services for somebody that you know or perceived to be homosexuals.
Now, to what extent is this also a bit of a cultural clash in Nigeria? We know that parts of Nigeria, most of Nigeria, in fact, very conservative, and then you have, you know, someone like yourself fighting for the rights of homosexuals.
I think the narrative of Nigerian being conservative is a Western ideology, and I don't think that when we talk about conservatism in the context of America or the United Kingdom, we actually see that kind of conservatism on the continent of Africa. I think the Western world don't really understand the concept of being a conservative from the position of Africa. Africa has, you know, one of the best family support network in the world. Africa has one of the best people-orientated ideology in the world. I am proud to say Africa has one of the best socialist approach to human relations in the world. What we are seeing on the continent of Africa is a leftover of colonial imperialism, and so much so an importation of, you know, American evangelical conservative ideology that has failed in America and is now being transported to other parts of the world, Africa included, or the old concept of traditional values. So that's what we are seeing. And this is a cultural shock because Africans are very accepting of alternative lifestyle. I'm a lecturer, and I've done a lot of research into, pre-colonial sexual expression on the continent of Africa, which is everywhere in our books. It's everywhere in our culture. What we are seeing is a Western imposition of aggression towards somebody that the West don't like, and they've come down to Africa to tell us that we should all like them as well.
Well, that's very interesting. What you're saying here, of course, is that the opposition, the animosity towards homosexuals is not a homegrown thing. It's imported from conservatives in the West. Now, you have an organization, right? Your organization, you're the founder of Rainbow Intersection. It's aimed at creating dialogue, not just around the issues of homosexuality, but also around the issues of race, of culture, etc. What kind of resonance does your work have in a place like Nigeria?
My work actually is focused on the UK, because again, the whole context of race doesn't really apply on the continent of Africa. Or, for example, in Nigeria, where I come from, we don't have issues around race. Maybe we have issues around ethnicity, but we don't have issues around race. But in the UK, where this project started, it was about, understanding the multiple identity that we have as a person. But if I have to draw that to the concept of Nigeria, I think it's also about understanding the multiple, the layers that comes with a personal identity of being a man. And what does it mean to be a man? Or of being a gay man? What does it really mean to be a gay man? Or being a woman? What does it mean? What does it mean to be a lesbian woman or a gay woman? These are the intersections that I'm trying to look at in my work, to let people understand that being masculine or trying to enforce a sense of masculinity does not really make you a man. Or and because this whole concept of homophobia is constructs around the whole idea of what a man should be, who a man should be, how a man should act, what a man should say. And when you're able to deconstruct all the social construct of masculinity, you can understand the whole concept that, it doesn't matter if two men are kissing. It doesn't matter if two women are kissing. It doesn't matter if two people are in love. What really matters is the genuinity of their expression. And that is what Africans are afraid of, because of what they've been taught, that, it reduces your sense of masculinity if you actually stand by and allow two men to kiss without challenging it, or if you kiss another man, because then you're not man enough. And when you look at the conversation as well in the West, it's about what is a man, how should a man act, and this whole thing is causing a lot of confusion, and that is what my work is trying to deconstruct.
Bisi Alimi, we're going to have to leave it there, so thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.